is Angela from Natural Living Alchemy. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about blessed thistle. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to be sharing a tea recipe that you can use to help support your liver health. The Latin name Cnicus Benedictus was given because blessed thistle had an ability to cure that was considered a gift straight from source. In our not so distant past, our ancestors used blessed thistle for quite a few different ailments and diseases, approximately 30 different uses since the time of Hippocrates. These would include protection from contagious or infectious diseases and poisons, removal of bad material out of the stomach. So that right there is going to tell us that it does have an emetic effect, which just means it can induce vomiting. It can help rid the body of worms and parasites. It can cleanse the heart as well as the blood. It was used to calm colic, promote sweating, as well as protecting the body from inner wounds. It can help stop severe headaches, the ones that you get right over the eyes. It can stimulate bile production. It can also help address menstrual issues, be it a lack of cycle completely or just a painful cycle. And it can also help improve memory by delivering oxygen to the brain. Now, I just want to remind you that I am not a doctor. None of what is on this channel would be considered medical advice. It's here for education and entertainment purposes only. And it's up to you to talk to your healthcare professional before following anything that I say. So let's just get right into it and learn about blessed thistle. Our Latin name is Cnicus Benedictus. It commonly can be found under the name holy thistle, spotted thistle, and Saint Benedict thistle, and it comes from our Asteraceae family of plants. Our parts used would typically be the leaves, the stems, as well as the flowers. Now, beginning with our taste. So blessed thistle is bitter. Like, it's so bitter, it actually smells bitter, if you know what I mean. Not all bitter plants actually smell bitter, but this one, you can take a nice big whiff and you almost get that bitter taste in the back of your mouth. But what is the bitter flavor telling us? Well, most bitter flavors will have an effect on the digestive system, the liver, as well as the gallbladder. And they tend to be cooling and drying energetically as they help drain fluid as well as dampness. And we actually have what are called bitter receptors throughout our entire body. They can be found in the blood vessels, the heart, the liver, the gallbladder, as well as the digestive tract. So let's now talk about the herbal actions and bodily affinities that blessed thistle has to offer. We're going to start with the digestive system. It can help stimulate the entire digestive process. And it can also help in cases of diarrhea, as it can go in and help tighten and tone up the bowels. It also has a cholagogue effect, helping to support a healthy liver by promoting the production of bile and improving liver detoxification, as well as just overall liver function. When bile production is stimulated within the body, it is able to produce an appropriate amount of digestive acids and enzymes, which in turn will help the body metabolize fats and proteins more efficiently, and therefore it can actually help enhance the entire digestive process. Blessed thistle also has choleretic effects, meaning it can help support the gallbladder. It holds an alterative action, just helping to clear congestion from the body. We do have a couple of different female reproductive system affinities with blessed thistle. Firstly, it works as a galactagogue, meaning it can help stimulate the flow of breast milk and increase the production of milk. And it also works as a general tonic that can help balance hormones, as well as holding some emmenagogue properties. And that's going to be helpful if you're somebody who experiences painful menstruation or dysmenorrhea. Now, just keep in mind, anytime that you see gog at the end of the word, like emmenagogue or galactagogue, that just means it's going to be stimulating secretions in some way. And the first part of that word is going to tell you which system or part of the body that those secretions are going to be happening. Blessed thistle also has an immune system affinity with an inflammation modulating and antimicrobial effect. It contains a compound called senescin, which can help address inflammation as well as just help protect against certain microbes, including E. coli, staph, and strep infections. Blessed thistle also holds a diaphoretic action. This means it can help support the body in its fever response. Now, I would personally use blessed thistle in phase 1 of a fever. Now, I did go over the entire fever response in the Herbal Actions presentation video that I did, and you are going to be able to find that linked in the description box below this video in case you want to check that out. I do talk about some of the different herbal actions I've mentioned here, and really just talking about what they mean. And another thing before I forget to tell you, you're going to also find in the description box below this video a link to the full written blog article that does accompany this video. Now, we have a couple different more affinities and herbal actions here to cover with blessed thistle. It has an affinity on the mucous membranes, which means it can decrease the thickness and increase the production of mucosal fluids in the digestive and respiratory systems. We also have astringent and antiseptic properties, and this means it's going to help dilate peripheral blood vessels and help tone inflamed tissues. We have a urinary tract affinity with diuretic properties, helping to provoke urine as well as increase the flow and the frequency. And lastly, we have a musculoskeletal affinity, helping with just general aches and pains in the body. And it helps to strengthen the entire body, and it can be used in cases of prolapse. So that is a lot of different herbal actions and just different places in the body that blessed thistle just really likes to go. Now, let's talk about one of the signatures of blessed thistle. And what I mean by signature is this is based on the theory of the doctrine of signatures. I will also link some of those videos that I did in that description box as well. But basically, just think signature equals sign in nature. So this is off of the theory of the doctrine of signatures, which states that every plant is basically stamped with its function and its use. And it's really up to us to learn this language that our ancestors used to know. So the signature for blessed thistle is actually found in the tough and prickly nature of the plant itself. This is a symbol of strength and resilience. We have a few different magical correspondences, if that's a way you like to work with herbs as well. So blessed thistle can offer spiritual protection as well as being used to ward off negative energies, entities, and ill intentions. When it's burned as an incense, it helps to purify the space, the object, and even individuals. Now, I'm not saying that you should necessarily go and take a bit of incense of blessed thistle and just put it all over somebody who you think is being negative. But maybe you could and just see what happens. But lastly, our last correspondence here is it aids in clarity when focusing the mind during meditative or divination practices. The energetics of blessed thistle, we have first for cooling to the entire system. It is considered to be cooling to the 2nd degree out of 4. So this just means it can thicken fluid and reduce internal heat. It is also drying, and this is due to the bitter flavor increasing digestive secretions. Those secretions do eventually have to leave the body. Now, an interesting thing to take note of is most herbal medicines are drying, especially those that have a cooling action. And lastly, we are tonifying. This means it's going to help astringe, tone, and tighten lax or relaxed tissues. We have a couple different contraindications and precautions that you just might want to consider before taking blessed thistle. You're going to want to avoid it if you are allergic to the Asteraceae family of plants. You're going to want to avoid it during pregnancy as it can act as a uterine stimulant. And lastly, I would avoid it if you had stomach ulcers or liver disease, at least without being under the guidance of your medical team. Some different ways that we could prepare blessed thistle and our recommended dosages would be we could have a tincture. So fresh herb would be 1 to 2, dried herb 1 to 5 in 60% alcohol. The dose there would be 7.5 to 10 milliliters up to 3 times a day. You could take it in a fluid extract, and our dose here would be 0.5 to 3 milliliters 3 times a day. You could take the dried herb as a powder and have 1 teaspoon of dried herb and just put that in 1 cup of boiling water, and you could make your tea in that way. You could also have it as an infusion with 1 ounce of dried herb in 1 pint of water. You could use it as a fomentation, which would be a hot infusion on a cloth or a poultice for skin wounds, cuts, and irritation. And finally, you can just eat blessed thistle. You can eat it fresh or dried, cooked or raw. We have a solubility in water, alcohol, acetic acid or vinegar, and glycerin. So that means if you are wanting to make any other type of herbal preparations, those are the different menstruums or solvents that you would want to grab to make sure that you are extracting all of these wonderful phytochemicals found within blessed thistle. So next, I want to do something a little bit different. We are going to channel a message through from blessed thistle. Now, keep in mind that I might be getting one message, you might receive your own, and different ways that we could receive these would be different thought streams changing, different feelings, a different knowing. In that description box, I will also link a video on how you can also learn plant communication techniques, because this is not really something that makes me a special individual. Absolutely anybody can do it. But what I'm feeling right now is I'm just starting to connect my essence to the essence of the herb. I'm not necessarily feeling words coming through, but I'm starting to feel I want to stand taller. I feel more confident in what I'm saying. I'm feeling a little bit more strength in just myself as a person, which is interesting. But anyway, sometimes that's how these messages come. Sometimes it is a beautiful long paragraph that just the words flow nicely. Other times it's just a different feeling. And these plants just have different ways of affecting our psyche, and just passing us a feeling is just one way. There are just a couple additional notes before I get to sharing our recipe today. So in larger doses, blessed thistle can have an emetic and expectorant effect, which just means it can induce vomiting. In homeopathy, it is held in high regard for treating jaundice, hepatitis, as well as arthritis. Now, keep in mind, anytime that you see itis at the end of a word, like arthritis or hepatitis, that's just actually telling you that an inflammation is present generally. Now, blessed thistle has also been used in the treatment of anorexia because it can stimulate all of those different portions of our digestive system. It can be helpful in addressing vertigo symptoms. And there's also been research showing that blessed thistle holds some anti-cancer potential, and it's been used as a treatment in HIV infections. Blessed thistle is ruled by the planet Mars and the element of fire. Our recipe featuring blessed thistle today is a liver support and detoxification tea. So in order to make this, you're just going to need a couple of different pieces of equipment. You're going to need a stove or a hot plate, a pot with a lid, and either a teapot with a strainer basket, or I'm going to be using my tea press. Now it is time for everybody's favorite part of the video. Let's do some math. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it's not your favorite part, but it is just as important to do this properly and to make sure that you're going to have the same results every single time that you make this tea. So our ratio, because I'm going to be using everything dried, is 1 to 5. So we're going to be using 1 part weight which is going to be our herbs, and we're going to be using 5 parts volume, which is going to be our menstruum or solvent or our water, another way to say it. Okay, so 1 part is, for me in this recipe, is going to equal 1/4 of an ounce. Okay, so that means that 1 part of our volume measurement is going to be 1/4 of a fluid ounce. Okay, don't worry, this will make sense, I hope. So we're going to be using 2 parts of Agrimony leaf, 2 parts of Burdock Root, 2 parts of Nettle leaf, 2 parts of mint leaf, 1 part of blessed thistle, 1/2 a part of a cinnamon stick, and 1/2 a part of ginger root. So what this means is I'm going to be using 1/2 an ounce Agrimony, 1/2 an ounce Burdock, 1/2 an ounce Nettle, 1/4 ounce mint, 1/4 ounce blessed thistle, 1/8 of an ounce of cinnamon stick, and 1/8 of an ounce ginger root. So that gives us 2 1/4 ounces of herbs total, or 9 parts of herbs. So then we need to figure out how much water we're going to want to add into this tea. So we have a volume of 5. So we're going to put our 9 parts herb, we're going to times that by 5, and we're going to get 45. Now, if we were doing this in parts equaled 1 ounce or 1 fluid ounce, that would be super easy. We would just need 45 fluid ounces, but it doesn't. So because our parts are 1/4, we're going to take 45, multiply it by 0.25 or 1/4, and that's going to give you 11.25 fluid ounces of water that you are going to require to make this tea. This recipe is going to require 2 different techniques to make. We are going to first need to make a decoction out of our roots and our barks and our dried ginger, and then you're going to want to make an infusion with the rest of the herbs. So we are going to start by grabbing our pot, and in there you are going to put your 2 parts burdock root, your 1/2 a part dried ginger root, and then 1/2 a part of cinnamon stick. And then to that, we are going to add our 11.25 fluid ounces of water. Now, I do have a little bit more than that in here, just to ensure that I don't lose too much due to steam and evaporation once things start getting simmering. So once you kind of just give everything a stir, once you add it in, you're going to just want to put your lid on your pot, and we're going to throw it on the stove. We're going to allow it to come up to a simmer, turn it down to low, and just allow it to simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, while that is simmering, we are going to just get the rest of our stuff ready. Now, you could definitely do this in a teapot. I just find one of these tea presses just a lot easier to do this. So just so I don't end up dumping everything all over, I also like to use a little canning funnel. So we are going to add 2 parts of our nettle leaf, 2 parts of agrimony leaf, 1 part of mint leaf. Mine is spearmint, but you could use anything from the mint family. And lastly, 1 part of our blessed thistle. So we are going to give these just a little mix, just to kind of get it all stirred in. And then once our decoction is all done, we are going to have this ready to go, and we can just strain our liquid directly into it. Our decoction has been simmering for about 20 minutes, and now it is time to strain out the herbs. So I like to just use one of these little strainers. And then you're just going to carefully pour the hot liquid over top of your leafy herbs. And then I do like to just take the herbs and just see if I can press any other liquid out of our roots. All right, so once you have your water in, you're just going to put the top over your press, or at least make sure if you're only using a teapot that all of the liquid is submerged, all of the herbs are submerged under the liquid. And now we are just going to allow this to sit and steep for 20 minutes. Our infusion has been steeping for 20 minutes, so all you have left to do now is just strain off the liquid from the herbs. The dosage of this tea would be 1 cup up to 4 times a day. You can store any of the extra liquid that you have. I like to just put it in a jar into the fridge. Now, I know that we just made a very small amount. I did that for the sake of the video. Now, just keep in mind, if you were to make all of your parts 1 ounce, okay, you would end up with 45 ounces of tea in the end instead of just this small amount. Now, there's definitely more in there that I'm going to press out later. You can either just drink this as is, you could put a little bit of lemon, you could put a little bit of honey in it, whatever you prefer. Some notes and different substitutions, recommendations I have. If you wanted to just throw everything in a pot and just make it tea, you certainly could. You don't have to do the 2 steps. You don't really need to make it more difficult than it needs to be. I prefer doing the 2 different steps because I know that I'm going to, from the decoction, get all of the phytochemicals out of the cinnamon stick, the ginger, and the burdock root. But listen, what if you only had 20 minutes to throw this together instead of 40? Just put it all in a pot, bring her to a simmer, let her steep, and you are good to go. This tea can also be made in advance and stored in the refrigerator for 2 days. So go ahead and comment down below and let me know, is this something that you're going to try for you and your family? I would love to hear about it. Don't forget to hit the like button and maybe share this video with anyone else who you think might enjoy it. Consider subscribing to the channel so that we can spend more time together and that you don't miss future videos. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to connect with me over there as well. But I just want to say thanks for stopping by today, and I'll see you next time.